Not sure if a condo or a townhome is a better fit for you? In this video, I'm breaking down the key differences, the pros and the cons, and what you need to know so that way you can avoid costly mistakes and make a confident decision. I'm Lezli Milner, a realtor here in Corpus Christi, Texas, and by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly whether a condo or a townhome makes the most sense for your situation. So let's get started. When most people hear the word condo, they picture a unit inside of a high-rise building like you'll see in Austin or Miami, which isn't wrong. But the important thing to know is that a condo is actually a type of ownership and not really a style of property. You could have a condo that's a unit in a high-rise or a townhome or even something that looks like a single-family home. What truly makes a condo is the way you own it. When you buy a condo, you typically own everything inside your four walls, but you don't own the exterior walls, the roof, the land, or even the common areas. Those are all shared and maintained by the homeowners association. Now, there are definitely some pros that come with condo ownership, and one of the biggest is low maintenance. Things like mowing the lawn, maintaining the elevators, or even redoing the common areas. Those are typically handled by the HOA. A roof repair would also be covered by the HOA, but depending on the funds, it may lead to special assessment costs. So it's a great option if you want a more hands-off lifestyle. Another perk is the access to the amenities. Many condo communities offer things like pools, gyms, clubhouses, and even security features like gated entrances or even having doormen. All of this is included as part of your ownership. But it's important to note here that this can be a double-edged sword. If you won't really be using these amenities on a regular basis, it may not be worth the cost to you. Moving on, of course, there are some cons to think about too. Condos usually come with a monthly HOA fee, and depending on that community, that fee can sometimes increase over time. There's also the possibility of special assessments. Now, this is an extra cost that gets passed on to the owners when the association needs to fund major repairs or upgrades that weren't planned for. So if you want to know about a local condo disaster, be sure to check out my video on the Villa de Sol complex here in Corpus Christi. They were hit with a special assessment after many units burned as a result of multiple fires, and they were underprepared. Another thing to keep in mind is that since you don't own the exterior, you're very limited to when it comes to making changes. Even something small like changing a balcony railing or the front door color would typically need approval from the association, and privacy or the lack of it can also be a downside in many condo communities. And since condos are usually part of a shared building, you'll often have neighbors on all sides, plus shared hallways, elevators, and lobbies. It can really feel more like you're living in a hotel than a home, especially in larger or older buildings where soundproofing really isn't the best. And speaking of that hotel feel, one more thing to look into is whether short-term rentals are allowed. Some condo HOAs allow Airbnb style rentals while others ban them completely. So if you're living there full time, having different guests coming and going every few days can really affect your sense of community. Things like noise and parking can become a real issue for you. And if you're thinking about renting it out yourself, be sure to double check the HOA rules and the city regulations. Just because other units are doing it doesn't mean it's actually allowed. But beyond that, you'll also want to consider things like insurance. In most cases, condo owners only need to insure the inside of their unit, walls, and coverage. But because the HOA master insurance policy that covers the outside, financing can also be a little trickier depending on the condo building itself. Lenders will look very closely at the HOA's financial health, how many units are owned versus rented, and whether there are any lawsuits against that association. If there are any red flags, getting a loan can be harder or more expensive. And one thing to really think about is pet policies. Many condo associations have very strict rules about pets, like weight limits, breed restrictions, or even just total bans on certain animals. So if you have pets or you plan to get one in the future, be sure to check the condo pet rules before making any decisions. And sometimes even service or emotional support animals have extra steps for approval. And finally, if you're thinking long term, resale value can be affected on how well the condo community is maintained and managed. A strong HOA is a major plus, and a struggling one can hurt your investment down the road. So, overall, a condo could be a great option if you're looking for low maintenance living, access to amenities, and a lock and leave lifestyle. But just make sure you understand the rules, the finances, and what your monthly fees will cover before making a decision. Now, real quick, if you're also considering a single family home, that's a whole different conversation because of maintenance, yard space, and privacy. So be sure to subscribe and stay tuned in because I'm planning a video in the future breaking that down as well. Now, let's talk about townhomes because they are very different from condos in one big way. A townhouse is a style of property, not a type of ownership. Townhomes are usually two-story homes that share walls with neighbors on one or both sides. But how you own a townhouse can vary. Some townhomes are set up like condos where you only own that interior space, but most townhomes are what's called fee simple ownership, which is just a legal term for full outright ownership of both the home and the land that it sits on. That means you own the inside, the outside, the roof, the yard, everything. You have full control over the property, including any improvements or changes that you want to make. However, while fee simple gives you more freedom compared to a condo, at least 90% of townhouse communities have a homeowners association. So you'll likely still need to follow certain rules, especially when it comes to exterior changes or shared spaces. Townhomes come with a lot of perks, and they often feel more like a single family home because you have your own front door, sometimes a garage, and often a little patio or even backyard space, which is great if you love to be outdoors or have dogs. Now, townhomes, hence the name, are usually built closer to town centers, so you're often just minutes away from restaurants, shops, and work, making it super convenient if you want to be in the middle of everything. Plus, townhomes can be a little bit more of an affordable option for people who want the feel of a home, but they're not ready for or they don't really want that full responsibility and cost of a single family house. But there are a few trade-offs to think about. First, even though you might have a little more control, there's still usually an HOA, and that means that you still have monthly fees. However, the good news is with fee simple ownership, the HOA fees are often a lot lower than condo fees because you're maintaining more yourself, like your roof, your yard, and your exterior insurance. Another thing to be aware of is the closer living quarters. Since townhomes are attached, you'll likely share at least one wall with a neighbor, and outdoor spaces like patios or small backyards can be fairly closer together. While it's usually more private than a condo building, it's still not quite the same as having a detached single family home where you have more distance and separation from your neighbors. And depending on the community, short-term rentals may also be allowed. This means that you could have new guests coming and going next door more frequently. And even if you're not planning to rent it out yourself, that is something to consider consider if you're looking for a more settled neighborhood feel. And moving on, just like with condos, it's important to understand what the HOA really covers, what the rules are, and what your responsibilities will be. Pet rules can still apply in a townhome community, especially if there is an HOA, but fee simple townhomes usually offer a little bit more flexibility when it comes to pets compared to condos, especially if you have a private yard or an outdoor space. Now, with that said, it's always a good idea to double check the HOA guidelines because every community is different. But overall, townhomes offer a nice balance between affordability, convenience, and that homey feel, really making them a great fit for many buyers who want something in between a condo and a full-size house. To sum it up, a condo is a type of ownership while a townhome is a type of property. If you need to, feel free to rewatch this video to really let it sink in. And if you're serious about buying a condo or you just want to avoid some common pitfalls, make sure to watch the videos that I linked right here, especially my breakdown of the Villa de Sol situation and my guide on the mistakes to avoid when buying a condo. Again, thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.